There's nothing worse than spending hours on end editing something and you feel like it sounds great and you really nailed it, and you get a note back that says, hey, I don't like this. I recently had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and we were discussing how sometimes when a client does some vocal tuning or some editing for you before they send it to you to mix, that if it's not to your standard, it ultimately diminishes your work. There is some merit to that, but at the same time, it's not your work, because if the client did the tuning, if the client did the editing, and they did it to their liking, then it's to their standard. When you're coming in behind that edit as the mixing engineer, your job is only to mix. That's to balance all the sounds, to EQ, compress, do all those kind of things to make it sound good together as a cohesive final product. So the editing is not technically the mixing engineer's fault. Now, of course, he rebutted with the fact that, well, if somebody listens to it and they hear things that are a little off, they might put that on the mixing engineer. And yes, that is true, but that is more of an ignorance than a fact, because the people who know how the process goes can objectively say, well, maybe they did not do those edits, especially if you already have a standard of work that people are familiar with. One of the things that we always have to remember, that I constantly remind myself when I'm working with people, is that it's not my project. At the end of the day, I don't get to decide based on my opinion or what I think it should be. It's always going to be what the client wants, and ultimately they are the one paying for the service. I've been in plenty of situations where I thought something needed to be edited, and I did the edits, and the client came back and say, hey, what did you do with the drums? What did you do with the vocals? They sound different. I don't like, can you take the tuning off? Can you? I don't want it. The best way to circumvent this is actually to have these conversations up front. When you're first talking to somebody about mixing their record, ask them about vocal tuning, ask them about quantization and how they feel about those things, because they will let you know what they like and what they don't like. And that way, you know not to do additional work that ultimately they might turn down and say they don't like, all because you did some stuff to the mix that you thought needed to be done. So does that diminish your mix? Ultimately, it's the client, it's their record. Let them decide.